So I like to talk about the Casio MTD-1053 as someone with a small wrist. You could say it's maybe about the size of a tube of toothpaste, maybe a little bit bigger. I've owned the watch for over 7 months, and I want to share 2 pros, 3 cons, and just some general comments on this watch. Just as a reference, I have a 6¼ inch or 16 centimeter wrist circumference with a wrist width or a wrist table, basically the distance between here and here, because that's what I see when I look at my watch. That distance is about 2 inches. But let's talk about the boring stuff. Let me zoom in here. Okay, boring stuff. From the 12 o'clock to the 6 o'clock, I got 40 millimeters. From the 9 to the 3 o'clock, or basically the crown, I got 43.5. From the lug to lug, I got 48 millimeters. And the crystal itself across, I got 28 millimeters. I didn't measure the strap because I ended up replacing the strap. Not sure where it went, but it came with a metal bracelet. So why did I buy this watch? It's not the Duro. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the Duro is just too big. I mean, it's a nice looking watch, great collection, wonderful value for how much it is. But it's too huge, and I would not feel comfortable wearing a watch that big. Again, I have a small wrist, and I want a watch to fit my wrist. But the problem is there's not a lot of Casio divers in that range until I came across this one, and I was very surprised because this seemed like a very good alternative, and it checked a lot of the boxes that I was looking for in a Casio diver. So let's start with pro number 1. It is the water resistance. Now, the truth is most of us are not going to be diving with these watches, right? I mean, gonna be, washing dishes. Really, we're not diving with watches like this. And so at 200 meters of water resistance, this is all I need. This is my beach watch. This is my pool watch, and I don't have to worry that much about it. And pro number 2, design and size. I guess you consider that 2, but I'm just gonna talk about it together. All right, first of all, I like the look of the watch. I like the numbers. Of course, I love having, let me zoom in. I love having the date window. Now, size-wise, seriously, it's pretty much perfect. I mean, it fits my wrist. I feel comfortable with it. And for someone with a relatively small wrist, there are not a lot of options. This one comes in this black and red and white. I think there's another version that's blue and red and white, equally very, very nice as well. But I chose this one. I think the watch just fits a small wrist really nicely. Now let's talk about the cons, the bracelet. And the bracelet that came with this is by no means bad. It would have been nice if they had supplied maybe a swim friendlier band. I mean, again, I like the rubber band, or if they had like a NATO strap or something, I think it'd look real nice. Con number 2 is quality control. Now, I'm really happy with a lot of the features of this particular dive watch. Again, size, water resist, even has a rotating bezel. Not that I need it, but hey, it's there. However, a couple of things. The bezel is a little bit off. Like, that's one of the first things I noticed when I started rotating it. It's like, it's just like it's like, I don't know if you can tell. Try to zoom in. Is that too zoomed in? Okay, too zoomed in. Okay, yeah, there. You can kind of see it, right? It's like between the 0 and the 1 marker. And you know what? I've just grown to accept that. I mean, it's fine. And sometimes I just try to like turn it so it just like lines up, even though it's not like snug in the bezel. Second thing I noticed, and this is not by no means Casio's fault, but there's like a scratch. Right, there's a scratch like right there going down, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't from me because it came like that, and I was like, what? Again, that's not Casio's fault. I bought it online. It just might have been the way it was, but I was like a little disappointed. I'm sure I could just polish it off and no big deal. But I just wanted to mention that for those who go out and are thinking about buying these watches, I'm sure Any type of mass-produced watch has those same issues. The quality may be spotty sometimes, and so hopefully you get a good one. This one I'd say is good enough for me, but I do want to mention con number 3, and this again in severity. This is probably the biggest one. It's boring. I know it is a solid watch. It's great. I still use it. You know, whenever we go beach, I still use it. But after all these months, it's just not exciting. You know, maybe a new strap will make me feel more excited about it. Maybe that's just how all watches are. But I found that over time, this is kind of like a boring watch. And that makes this watch good, but not great. And that's not really a bad fault to have. It's like someone who's a nice person, right? That's really nice to have. But in a lot of ways, if they're just nice, they're kind of forgettable. And I think in a lot of ways, this watch will probably suffer from that same fate. The good thing is that there's only limited watches for dive watches for Casio that I could buy, so it doesn't have to worry as much. But I'm always looking around, and if there's another dive watch that Casio makes that can fit my small wrist, like 40 millimeters or less, it's gonna be real tempting. So again, this is a nice watch, and it's frankly probably the only dive watch that I need. I wish I had a different color though, but you know, black is pretty safe. But for someone with a small wrist, I'd say 6.5 inches or less, I mean, I think this looks good. And again, paying attention to the 2 inches from this spot to this spot on my wrist, because that's really what you're looking at, right? If you got about 2 inches right there, this watch fits perfectly. However, I just think that the watch ends up being kind of boring. And I know it's feature packed and it's all that you need, but if you get into watches, you know that it's not all you need, right? And eventually, as you build your collection, watches like this one, although reliable and good, they just get put towards the back of the watch box. So we'll see what happens to this watch in the end. I mean, really, I still wear this watch when I go to the beach. This is my go-to water, swimming, pool watch. But sometimes, most times, I'm just not that excited about it. So, thanks for watching.